I had a conversation with Tabitha about just being able to come up and have a conversation with us about our sexuality in this season, and especially now to the young people, to speak to those in this group about how to keep ourselves throughout this season. And I'll split it just into three areas that I hope will be helpful to us in just giving us direction. I myself have been a young person. I'm not as young as anymore, but I feel there's a lot that I could share towards this. So I hope this is helpful to you. So let me begin here first by just letting you know that sex is a serious thing, and it has long-term effects. And we'll be going in the final part. We'll be going into a place of just understanding the different areas that sex affects. But now, just to help us understand, first of all, that boys and girls are very different. So boys and girls are different, and the way they respond to their sexuality is also very different. So the first part is to understand that all of us, as we progress in our growth, we need to know that our bodies will react in certain ways, and to be aware of that so that we are not caught off guard, and it doesn't make us make us confused when certain feelings come and we feel like we are out of place or out of order, so to speak. So yes, so we've done a lot of research and just seen how boys respond differently from the girls. And we have to be careful about our sexuality. We have to be careful about how we react in situations when we are caught, either not saying pants down, but hands down, where we don't know what to do. And I'd said earlier that it's easy to be confused with the feelings as they start to come. But that's the way God has created us. That as we progress, as we go on, we begin to have feelings that have not been there before. But just to know that those feelings are natural. Feelings are natural for you to be able to be attracted to the opposite sex, for you to be attracted to a boy or a girl. Those are normal things. The human body has been created in that way. So sex in itself is something that God has created for us, for enjoyment, for procreation, all these things God has created for us. So now that we know that and we establish that sex is good, it's something that God has created, and sex both being the male and female in terms of gender, and then also sex in the act itself. Now that we know those are good things, so how do we manage it? How do we manage our sexuality in understanding that there's certain ways I will respond when someone touches me? So because I know there's a certain ways that I'll respond, then I need to be careful. The thing that is common is the way men are aroused or are moved by what they see. So that's why now they say porn is one of the biggest industries. I think it's number 3 in terms of economic scale. So porn is big because there's so many people watching porn, and more so they say it's the guys. It's targeted to the male. So you see a lot of male pornography that is targeted towards the man, and it's because men generally are attracted with the things they see. So before a man even gets to touch, before a man even gets to smell, they are already drawn to a thing just by the fact that they see it. But it's different for the girl. The girl has to experience touch. There has to be a little bit more coercion before she can get into the mood. And then I guess again, a lot of this will be biased because I'm a man. So a lot of my responses are also just from a male perspective. But then to know that first, sex has been created by God. You are created by God the way you have been created. But then also, second, to know that the way a man and a woman respond is different. So to be cautious also in that realization, because that realization helps us to set boundaries for ourselves. To be cautious in that realization that if then women are responding to touch or stuff like that, then how many people are you allowing to touch you? That's a thing you need to begin to consider as a woman, and ask, is the way people are touching me affecting my ability to even just respond to my sexuality and the arousals when they come? And the same thing for a guy. If then we are moved by the things we see, then what are you allowing yourselves to see? Because the more you see, the more you get to the place where you want, and you're sexually aroused beyond what you may be able to manage. So those are important things to know, and it's different for different people. So again, just to be careful on that different people respond differently. So for you to be careful and know that I respond in a particular way. So it takes a lot of being aware of your own body, so that you know that for me, this is a no goes on. And to be careful and say, if this happens, then I need to get out of the room, or I need to be able to set boundaries in this area, so that you're not being caught off guard. So it's very important to do that. And now that leads into us setting boundaries. So what boundaries have you set around you that can help you to protect yourself and protect your sexuality? One of the things that for me has been practical is just having accountability. That if I'm going to a certain place and I know it's probably a place that could be trouble for me, that I'm able to set that accountability. In this season of quarantine, if I know that for me it's in the things that I watch, there are parameters that I can set to be able to ensure that there's someone who's watching for me, up to and including a software or stuff, because there's stuff online that you could use to protect you. It's either an app or a web connection or browser connection, that if you log in into maybe like say a porn site, that it sends an email to whoever you've set as an accountability partner for them to be able to check on you, or it sends a message. It could be an app. What are those things that you set, up to including those that block you from going into certain sites? Because we need to be very deliberate with our connection. If we're not being deliberate with our boundaries and how where we are going, then we really are setting up ourselves to fail. So just to understand again that it begins with you knowing that you have been created in a specific way, and God created you in that way for a reason. He created sex so that you may be able to enjoy, for procreation, for you intimacy with a significant other. So those are natural things. But now, as you're working towards just protecting yourself, maybe you're in a place where you're still single, or you're with people, you're at a place where you're not able to be with your significant other, then to set boundaries and know that this affects me in this way, and because this affects me in this way, then I need to protect myself in a certain way. So as we progress, if you do have any question, you can type in the question, and then we'll work to answering it. And yeah, I believe God will help us. Just something else that I felt was important is to understand just the way affection grows. Because when we are with people, naturally, we will either be attracted, or there is a progression in our relationship. We will grow towards that attraction in one way or another. It's the way God created us. He actually says it's not good for man to be alone. So in that one, then it is important to know that if you are already having, whether it's hugging or kissing, that you're already up, your relationship has already graduated, so to speak. So that your relationship begins with first you even being attracted to each other. That's the way most relationships begin. And relationship here, I'm not talking about you and a significant other. I'm talking about just relationship in the natural, generic sense. Boy, girl, father, mother, brother, sister, friends. Just how those relationships are attracted. You look at a person, but granted, maybe the family ones are not, by choice. Those ones just happen. But the other relationships, they happen, we grow them. We grow those relationships. So relationships begin with attraction. You look at a person, you're interested in them, you want to get to know them better, or you begin with interactions in a certain place, and their relationship grows. As it grows, if it is moving into a significant other relationship, then you need to see and be aware of what stage it has grown into, because then for some people it's holding hands, or just a hug, or just even a greeting, something as simple as a greeting. And that has moved your relationship into a different step. So you move into, first you saw each other, you were attracted, began to talk, those conversations. Now you are either shaking hands, which could also lead into now you holding hands as the relationship progresses. So you hold hands for a while, but natural progression, holding hands is not enough. So you want to be able to hug the other person. So you do hug the other person. And even with that, you can only hug for so long before you will need to want maybe a kiss. And then I keep saying, even in this generation, it's even crazier because we all hug each other. So if we are hugging everyone, then how does the person who is important to us know that they are important, more important than the rest? Because now hugging has become common. So it moves to you kissing. Because now as you greet, now you need to show that everyone else, yes, I'm hugging everyone, but this specific person, this one is special to me. So you kiss them. So as you kiss, now you've moved. Because now maybe it's in public, it's a simple peck, whether it's on the cheek, whether it's on the mouth, but it has progressed into something else. So now once you're kissing, you're about 3-4 steps above now in your affection meter or affection road. So now you're already kissing, and I keep saying I've never seen people who kiss with their hands in their pockets or kissing saying hallelujah. So a lot of times what happens is people begin to touch. So you kiss, you touch, and now again you've moved up in the steps of affection, and slowly now there is more. The body begins to want more because it's natural progression. I'm not saying this because I'm a prophet. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. Natural progression. If you show the body that it can get what it's getting, it will want more and more and more. And even if especially with sex, it's one of those things, and the next thing we'll be talking about is just how it affects different areas of our lives. With sex, if you're doing it in the wrong way, you're doing it in the wrong context, it's not in the context of marriage, it's not in the context of someone you love and care for and have committed to live the rest of your life together, it begins to want more in the wrong direction. So the desires, the way you do it, the way you engage with the other person or the different people begins to constantly, instead of it filling the void you're trying to fill, it continues to increase. It increases your void, and there's more that you desire, and there's more that you want. So yeah, so that's it. So it moves from there, from touching, and it's into now having intercourse. And that's a completion in the process. But then it doesn't mean that if it's being done in the wrong context, that's the end. More and more could be happening and being directed to other areas. And you see, now as I was saying earlier, the problem with the sex is the one thing that is said to affect every area of your life, not just one. And we all know, and we keep being told about the physical part, where it's about, be careful, don't get pregnant, which now in our generation, we're more scared of being pregnant than anything else in the world. So the increase in the sales of the morning after pill has increased. So yes, we know about STDs, we know about STIs, we know about HIV and AIDS. We know those physical things that will affect us if you engage in sex improperly. But that's not the only area sex affects. Sex affects your whole body. Sex affects your whole life. Sex affects your social life. Because we are engaging in sex in the wrong way, trust has been lost. And because sex is such an intimate thing, we have lost the connections that we could have naturally as human beings. So I keep asking nowadays, think about it. If you just approach someone of the opposite sex and just ask them, hi, how are you? What's your name? The first thing they would think is that you want sex from them. That they wouldn't think you're looking for just a natural friendship. That has ended. And that is a result of the fact that we have naturally progressed our relationships into relationships that just want sex. And because of that, it's becoming, the society is just being torn apart by lack of trust. And even for you as a person, so many people have been traumatized because they engaged in sex in the wrong way. And they committed. They thought they were ready. They thought they were sure that this is the person. Then sex didn't help in that. So, and they still didn't stay together. They moved to the next person. It becomes harder and harder to trust someone. And that's a way that sex is affecting your social well-being. The other thing that sex affects is mentally. So the question we've asked with this is, think about what you've eaten. Simple exercise. What did you eat, say, 3 years ago on a day like today? 3 years ago on a day like today. Most likely you're having a hard time remembering. Most likely. I know there are some good geniuses out there who will remember every detail and what they were wearing and stuff like that. But then this is a hard thing for some people just to remember. And I will even bring it closer and we'll ask, a year ago, a day like today, what were you having? April 17th, a year back. What were you having for supper? What did you eat? What did you eat? Yeah? For some people, it will still be hard to remember. And then we'll also ask, even just 2 weeks ago on a Friday like this one, what were you doing? Yeah? Can you remember? For some, it will be easy because you have a timetable, so you know what you eat every so often. But then the rest of the people will struggle with even remembering that. But then the question comes with this, and this is still regarding sex mentally. The question is this. If you think that a child who was abused when they were 5 years old, and now they are, say, 40 years, or even say, let's say they're 35 years, so that it's not too far back to remember. Do you think they remember? Then we'll also ask you, if you think about it, if they're at 50, will they have forgotten that ordeal if they were sexually abused? And most likely they still do. They still do. And that's the impact of sex. Sex has that effect on you that you will remember no matter how old you will be. The other thing is to think about it and look at it in this way. And this is a challenge I give you if you've had more than 1 or even 5 or 10 partners, to try and remember every single one of the people that you've slept with. And this is a challenge even for those that have slept with more than 50 people. Try and remember, because there are people like those who have lost complete control of this thing that they thought they were able to control. So try and write down and see if you can remember. You may not even remember their names because for you maybe it was just a game. But then try and remember even in terms of what they were wearing or how they looked, and you will remember something. And I guarantee that the chances are you will remember every single one of them. And that's the power sex has on your mind. And we ask, in regards to physical, they could say that there's things to protect, whether it's the morning after, whether it's the condoms, all those. But in regards to mental, do we have anything that you could wear to say this is the condom for the head? None. Then we talk about even your emotional well-being. So emotionally, we have been, we are hurt. You gave yourself to someone, and because of the level of intimacy that sex brings, you thought that you are giving yourself to someone. Now that's a person that you trusted. By the time you're sleeping with them, you're trusting them. But now, as it progresses and whether the relationship works or not, issues start to come up as to whether can they really be trusted, and it begins to work on your heart emotionally. You begin to wonder, is this someone I should have given myself? Is this someone that I should have trusted? And emotionally now, people get hurt because of sex. So you gave to someone, you thought you're being committed, and then now they've proved that they were not worth the commitment. And then sex is a big deal. Sex is a big deal. I still don't understand how and why, but sex is a big deal for so many people. Sex is for all of us. Sex is a big deal, and it's one of those things that if you do give, you're giving as if you're giving a gift. So if you're not careful with it, then it brings a lot of hurt with it. Then, so we've spoken about it socially, we've spoken about mental, we've spoken about emotional, we talked about physical, which was where we started. But there's one that I usually add, because this one is key for all of us who believe in God, that this one is spiritual. If you are engaging in sex in a way that is not proper, it will affect your relationship with God. That's a guarantee. That one is not pata potea. That's a guarantee that it will affect your relationship with God, because you will wonder why. You will have a hard time going back to God and telling him your needs or telling him how you feel, because the guilt that comes from you engaging in sexual misconduct is huge. And it's one deal, it's one guilt that deals with you alone. Then involve many people. It's not a community where you come and sit down and ask, did I do this right? Did I do this wrong? It's just about you. And again, I believe in the Bible, and the Bible talks about that if you, all other sins are outside of the body, but sexual sin is sin against the body. And I guess that's the reason why the guilt eats you. Then it other people, it's you, it's. So it's important to be careful about this. So yeah, so that these are things that I think are important for us to maintain. So I'll go back to where we started and insist. You need to find a way to be able to put boundaries around you. And I mentioned for you that for me, accountability has been key. So it's important for you to find accountability. But maybe I could share with you something else that for me was helpful. The other thing that was helpful is to recognize patterns and know that these are the things that lead me into sexual sin. These are the things that lead me get me into trouble. So because these are the things that get me into trouble, and recognizing those patterns, I begin to be careful about not going here, not going there, not going here, and just mitigating those and just removing them out of the way. So yeah, that's the most I had to share. I don't know, I haven't seen any questions. So maybe that means a lot of it went in. If it didn't, again, I'm sorry. But my intention is that to get this through to you, that you may be able to hear and that God will minister to you.